It's an important memoir. Yeah, such a simple description of such simple life. But the household gathered around in the evening for a rosary with a hymn between each decade and thanking God, and no radio and no TV, so your mind isn't polluted with trash and propaganda. The gospel stories are simple and yet full of detail, like the lives of the saints. And the Freemasons or the Republicans, they hated the monarchy because they hate Christ. They covered his power to rule. As the Reformation brought a slide from Catholic monarchs to Protestant monarchs, this was not the end goal. As the French Revolution went from monarchy to republic, this was not the end goal. As World War I saw the end of the Orthodox Tsar in Russia and the Catholic Emperor Blessed Karl in Austria-Hungary, and Kaiser Wilhelm in Germany, and soon after the Islamic Sultan of the Ottoman Empire. I'm not defending Islam or Protestants, but all this is further and further disintegration. And this is to serve a global totalitarianism. The establishment of the USA as a republic is not the end goal. Look around. I know Americans are proud of your republic, of breaking free from a little island of tyrants. I don't know what the solution or the answer is for America, because I think in general I'm more and more convinced we need Catholic monarchs. But for America, I'll say with certainty, if you enthrone Christ as king, he will sort out the political system, whatever that's going to look like. What we have now, the modern parliaments or House of Representatives do not represent the people, but serve the globalists while deceiving the people. It's a theater. To move then to the second part of the talk, I'll say a little about Burma, North Korea, the West, and Bergoglio. The devil's tyranny is manifest for those who have eyes to see it. His program can be seen in obvious cases like Burma and North Korea, and then we'll think of the less obvious. In Burma, the military regime is basically a kleptocracy. They're there to steal everything they can. And the people live in more or less fear, depending how intense the pressure is. I was arrested there 3 times because I wanted to confront this regime and see how such evil could stand, how individuals could be so cruel to others. And your enemy is not who you might think, it's more intangible. It's not that I was so naive as to think it's about good guys versus bad guys. I know it's more complicated, we're all sinners. But there was a prisoner who served as a guard. A lot of the prisoners were army deserters. Some of them very strong, and they would serve as prison guards, and they'd get 3 years knocked off their sentence or whatever. And on Millennium Eve, do you know what you're doing when 1999 turned into 2000? Well, I was planning some protest in the prison, and he came and said, "Shh, midnight, prison champagne." And he brought me some rocket fuel at midnight, and he fried a fish outside my cell. So I had quite I cancelled my protest in the interest of celebrating the new millennium. 9 months later, he led the gang that came in my cell, and he was carrying the biggest stick, and broke my nose, both black eyes, blood pouring out my face. He would do whatever he needed to do to make friends or get ahead. There was another of them. He looked, I think, like Genghis Khan, although I've not seen Genghis Khan. One of the strongest guys I've ever seen, I think. And yet he turned out to be so gentle, such a good heart, I could tell. And when he was taken off, they took about 80 prisoners away to go to the front lines where they're fighting against the ethnic groups who resist them. And that's porters, you know, they just got to carry a load of stuff and they go in front, so if there's landmines, they'll get hit. It was my third time in prison. I didn't cry a lot, but I cried when he had to go there. It's a microcosm in the prison, right, of the world. Everywhere you are is a microcosm of the world. And although we could talk about the complex causes of politics or whatever, why Burma's in the situation it is, it wouldn't be the way it is under this military tyranny if it wasn't for what the Japanese did in World War II. And that wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for the British Empire and 3 Anglo-Burma wars at the end of the 1800s. And you can trace it back as far as you like. It wasn't perfect in Burma before the Brits made it worse. But ultimately it's about sin. You can all choose in every moment whether you're going to sin or resist sin. And that's what makes the difference to the lives of the people around you and to your salvation. I was tortured a little bit at the beginning of that imprisonment and interrogated and locked up, and you realize the strength of evil and your own utter weakness of your body, at least. I'm not talking about the soul. But if they want to hurt it, they can. If they want to cut it, they can. If they want to break it, they can. There's nothing you can do. And if they lock you up, despite there's a few exceptions, you're not going to get out until they decide. Fortunately, I gave them a much harder time than they gave me, and so they decided after 40 months to send me home. But you realize your smallness in a new way. And it's preparation for rejoicing in God's omnipotence, because he is mighty, and the soul can never be broken if your soul, you unite it with God, which is always your choice. Nothing can take that away. Seeing how the officers in the prison worked reminds me of the bishops today. If they keep silent, don't challenge the regime, they'll do okay. If they want to be brutal, they'll get promoted. You know about the bishop in Perth, Australia, just closed down St. Anne's Parish traditional mass. He says one of his priests will now continue it. It's not going to be the same as what Father Michael Rowe was doing there. And he's just got promoted by Francis, the bishop, to some body of the Vatican, I think, to do with the synod or something. Is it worth it? Is it to crush the faithful so you can please the tyrant?